I am joined today by Tyler Sansom. Tyler is the pastor of Church Anywhere. If you haven't heard of Church Anywhere, I want to kick things off by just letting Tyler share a little bit of background. Tell us about Church Anywhere, give us some context, and then within that, talk about what has Christmas over the last few years of Church Anywhere, what has that typically been like?
Yeah. Church Anywhere is a digital expression, digital church plant of First Capital Christian Church in Indiana. So we are the full digital experience that complements what we do in a physical sense. We've been around for a while now, but we've been fully staffed and kind of made it a whole digital church plant as of this year. But this is our going on fifth year of operation. In the past, Christmas has been pretty standard. We'll do a Christmas Eve service, stream it, and then have engaging social media posts and things like that to go along with the service. This year's a lot different, obviously. COVID changes everything. So.
Yeah, well, and that's kind of the big question, right? I mean, churches are trying to figure out what do we do with a variety of restrictions that different places are facing, and also the uncertainty of, what are things going to look like, 6 or 7 weeks from now if there's another surge, trying to figure out how do we make decisions about delivering an experience for people this Christmas. So talk us through what you guys are deciding to do, given the circumstances that we're in.
Yeah, I'll start with the why, and then we'll get to the what we're doing. So, we are in a very real, practical sense, ultra phygital. We're like the prime example of a hybrid model because we have an actual physical location, and then we treat our digital location. It's fully staffed. It's basically a separate church, all under the umbrella of one vision, which is under First Capital Ministries. And so we've been trying to figure out ways to be better at being phygital. We do ministry good in person and we do ministry good online. We have not figured out a way to meld those two together as tightly as I would want them to be. And so we've been talking about this for months, but the hardest part about online ministry, I think, is mobilizing people to be on mission online. It's hard to get people to serve online. It's hard to find even opportunities for them to serve. It's hard to get them to move forward and not just be consumers. It's easier to do that in person, but we still don't do really great at it. And so for a while, we've been talking about how can we not only meld the two together more and become more phygital with our approach, but how can we do that in a way that's mobilizing for our people? And so we have been kicking around this concept of, I think Crossroads calls it outfitters. They did a sermon series called Outfitters, and we loved that idea. So we stole that language and kind of made it our own. But essentially, we want to be like First Capital Ministries would be like the supermarket, okay? And then once we get people into the supermarket, we want them to go through our aisles that we have products, except every single series that we do, every single themed thing that we do, like monthly or quarterly, we want to be able to put things on these shelves that every single person that comes into our superstore can take with them, both in person and online. So let me give you a practical example of how we're going to do that in December leading up to Christmas. We've identified several ways that we think best help disciple people. And for December, we're going to focus on 3 of those. We're going to focus on generosity, community, and prayer life. So our shelves would be generosity, community, prayer life. And the superstore would either be First Capital in person or Church Anywhere online. Following me so far?
Yep, I'm with you.
So December, we're going to have the theme of miracles. All month in December, we're talking about miracles. The first week's about the miracle of the angels that answered the prayers of the shepherds. The second week is about the generosity of the wise men and the miracle that they got to witness, and then their generous spirit of giving Jesus gifts. And then the final week is God with us, the community aspect of miracles, that the miracle of God literally coming in human form. Now, so that's the community service and generosity. So we're trying to figure out ways within our services on the weekend to make sure that we hit those touch points. But then we've also got an entire strategy for the month of December that has daily content that will help point people, whether it's in person or online, towards these aisles that we want them to take things off the shelves. For example, we've got a reading schedule that's going to be out where we're producing a podcast where people can listen through the entire book of Luke to get a full picture of Jesus being a miracle. So that's going to be daily. We're going to do daily written blog posts that are all around the themes of the community, generosity, so on. And then we'll do weekly worship experiences on Wednesday nights. And we're viewing those kind of as how the Tonight Show does it, to where like their audience is television, but they have people in person that want to watch them tape it. So we're inviting anybody that wants to come in to come worship with us, but the primary focus is to produce this for online. It's that phygital model.
Interesting.
So all of this being said, we're putting it in something called a miracle box. And people can come and sign up for those online and we'll ship it to them, or they can come pick it up in person. But inside the miracle box is an advent calendar of all kinds of things that have to do with the 3 things we're trying to get them to do for the month. So an advent calendar to do with their families. It's a daily reading schedule that will be to do with that podcast. It's also got an activity book that follows along the messages and devotionals made for kids. It's got Christmas Eve in a box. So within that box, there's going to be a section just for Christmas Eve, and it's going to be interactive elements that we'll hit on during the services. So for example, during the service, we might tell like our favorite Christmas story. And then one of the things in that box is have your kids draw their favorite Christmas present, something like that. There's also a miracle card that we're going to have people write someone's name on at the beginning of December and put it on their bathroom mirror and commit to praying for them every single day. And then at the end of the month, both in person and online, this miracle box, we're going to challenge people once it's emptied at the end of December, they're going to fill it up. And on Christmas, they're going to go deliver it to the person that they've been praying for and be a miracle in that person's life. So all of it's like this holistic approach using digital tools like podcasts and Facebook Lives and Facebook groups and things like that, and in-person experiences to hopefully point people towards this month, the miracle theme of community and worship and generosity.
Yeah, that's awesome. You know what I love about what you guys are doing is, and you've had practice, as you said, thinking in each stream independently. You've been for years, you've been very effective at being a physical church. One of the things that folks might not know about you is that you guys, for a small rural community, your church before COVID saw a significant percentage of the community engaged in your church. And so you guys were good at doing physical church within a community. You've also been doing digital church for a while and have gotten really good at doing that in a way well beyond just, streaming or on demand or things like that, real relationships, friendships, and community online. And so bringing those 2 things together, really getting intentional about being phygital, this is where, whether all churches recognize it or not, this is where they're at right now in this season. And, I'm sure some might argue the other way, but this is where churches should be going forward, right? Is that connection of those 2 things. And so I love how you guys are being so intentional in creating the resources that help to facilitate that in the lives of the people, and that you're doing it from a discipleship standpoint, that's
Sure.
the value that's really, driving this alongside the desire to put those things together.
I feel like for years, most churches, even including us, we've used online ministry as like a marketing tool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this strategy, like the word outfitters, the reason we liked it so much is that it gives us the opportunity to empower people and gives us the opportunity to provide them resources to go out and be mobilized. rather than just show them what it could look like in our building in hopes that they'll come. So it flips the script. It's more of a discipleship model than it is a marketing model. I'm excited to try it in December.
Yeah, yeah. So any tips or advice you would give, a church that's really struggling to, how do we even get started to think about what to do for Christmas? What would you say to them?
Yeah, it's basically a blank slate this year. All of those golden calves that you could never mess with on Christmas, you kind of can now. So if there's a tradition that you've been looking to like alter and make it better, or maybe move away from, like this is the year. So I would definitely look at it as a blank slate, and then think of yourself less as a marketing tool. How can I get people to come to my building for Christmas? And more of, how can I go to where people already are and show them the miracle of Jesus coming to the earth in this holiday season?
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, Tyler, again, thanks so much for investing your time in other church leaders and for sharing what you guys are doing.
Yeah, no problem.